The fight to defund Planned Parenthood continues in the United States. More than 50 members of Congress are calling on the Department of Health and Human Services to investigate the nation's largest abortion provider, after a new report chronicled a long-standing pattern of the business's failure to report the sexual abuse of minors. The report, released by the pro-life group Live Action, includes accounts from victims who have been to Planned Parenthood, former employee testimonies, state health department records, and undercover footage. We break this all down with our next guest. Representative Vicky Hartzler of Missouri joins us now from Capitol Hill. Congresswoman, thank you for your time.
You bet. Glad to be here.
The pro-life group Live Action recently released an investigative report alleging Planned Parenthood has covered up child sexual abuse and sex trafficking at locations across the U.S. First off, what's your reaction to these findings?
Well, it is just abhorrent and it's unacceptable. Here's an agency that claims to be supportive of women and for girls, and yet this Live Action report documents that over a decade, Planned Parenthood has a repeated pattern of facilitating or allowing the sexual abuse of children by not reporting these incidents or asking the questions that need to be asked. And their funding needs to be stripped and they need to be investigated, and that's why I led a letter to Health and Human Services along with many of my colleagues here in the House of Representatives, asking that they investigate Planned Parenthood to find out how prevalent this really is beyond the report that was published, and to take action to see that their funding is stripped.
And I want to speak more on that letter because you, as you mentioned, along with at least 50 of your colleagues, have asked the Department of Health and Human Services to respond to these allegations of abuse cover-up. Can you walk us through more of the specifics of what you're asking HHS to do and what you're expecting?
Well, we're asking that for all the records of young people who have used their services, who could fit in this category of teenagers who have been sexually abused by their children, by their a parent or someone else in their household. And we want to know how many times Health and Human Services asked or acted on concerns in the past with Planned Parenthood not reporting that. So we want to know how many times HHS has investigated or asked Planned Parenthood for this information. And we want to determine, if there have been actions taken by Health and Human Services to address this concern in the past, or if this is just a new revelation that was brought out by this report.
Based on what we're speaking about right now, has the abortion industry created a safe haven for sexual abuse to thrive, in your opinion?
Well, I think so. We have information from past employees at Planned Parenthood who said that they were told to not ask too many questions, and it was just too much hassle to file things as abuse. Instead, they actually changed the record at sometimes to indicate it wasn't abuse. And these are just clear, horrific violations of the law. As part of their contract with the family planning money since the 90s, it has been part of the stipulation that anybody who receives that has to follow the state reporting laws regarding child sexual abuse. And so they clearly have not been asking those questions, or even when they knew about instances where a child was being abused, they did not report it. And that is just unacceptable.
Congresswoman, we're at the height of the Me Too movement right now. Have you heard or seen universal outrage in response to Planned Parenthood's alleged cover-up of abuse?
I have not, and it certainly should be. Child sexual abuse is not acceptable at all, and everybody should speak out against it, including the Me Too movement.
Representative Vicky Hartzler of Missouri, thank you for your leadership on this, and thank you for your time today.
You're welcome.